Hi everyone, Jackie from Cheapskate Cake Boss here with a tutorial for you on how to make a simple, elegant orange cream cake for pennies on the dollar. And it was a complete hit. It cost me $6.22 to make. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Happy baking! You will need icing bags, Dixie cups to mix the icing, couplers, icing tips, a flour nail, icing dyes, any color that you prefer, a decorator icing or buttercream, and then a base icing for flavor, paper towels and wax paper, spoons, knives, anything like that to mix with. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. Right now I am mixing my decorator icing. I'm using orange for the flowers and the piping on the cake. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I usually like to start with the flowers first, just because they need to set in the fridge for a few hours before they're solid enough to peel off the paper and not completely turn to mush in your hands. So I'm trying to get this nice orange color now. I just mixed basic red and golden yellow Wilton icing dyes. You can get those for about $1. And it's a lot cheaper than buying a different color of icing every. Okay, we're wrapping up dyeing our icing. We're just going to let that set over here for just a second. And next we're going to actually fill our piping bags with the icing and get that ready to go. The cake isn't actually in the fridge right now. We're actually going to fill our piping bags and get that ready to go. You start by cutting like 1 inch to 1.5 inches off the tip of the icing bag. And this can be tedious because you have to get it almost exactly right, but you know, it's pretty user friendly. Go ahead and stick the coupler in the icing bag until the tip of the coupler is poking out of the part that you just cut off. Select your icing tip. For the flowers, I will be using icing tip 104 from Wilton. It's like a petal tip with a skinny end and a large end, kind of a curve. And then next we're going to lay out our parchment paper. And now I use parchment or wax paper as a base on the flower nails so that I can just go ahead and build the flower on top of that paper and not have to worry about prying, you know, the frozen buttercream off of the flower nail. So it makes it a lot easier. It's an easy cleanup, and you can also store these in the fridge, and you don't have to occupy more than one piping nail or flower nail at a time. Just going to stick a little bit of buttercream on the end of this so the parchment paper sticks to it. And there we go. Okay, to start the flowers, we're going to just do a basic circular icing tip, and we're going to build up like a little mound in the middle of the flower nail. And make it too tall, it can tip over. So we're going to leave it relatively small, just about that height. And then you're going to start with 104, the thin tip. Go all the way around, and then wrap it back over and dip down. And there you have the center of your rose. And then we're going to start building on the petals. Same icing tip, go up and over. The inside has 3. Up and over, and just kind of remember to pull off every time and tilt it a little bit outwards so the rose displays outwards, unless, you know, you'll have a big pile of mush if you don't pull it apart. Also make sure your buttercream is not too soft, because that can account for some problems later on too. Your rose will not look like a rose, and it'll just be a ball of icing at that point. Okay, now we're taking out the cake from the fridge. It's a 2-tier cake. I have a crumb icing on it right now. It's just normal buttercream, but it serves to keep all the crumbs inside that first layer so that they don't show up in your layers after that. So you do that. We're just creating a thin layer of icing, throw it in the fridge for a couple hours, let it harden, and now we're applying the cream cheese icing. And you can see that there are really no crumbs pulling up on this because we already applied the crumb layer, which is a complete godsend when you're in a hurry and you just, you have a hot cake or you're pulling up all sorts of crumbs, and it makes the final project look nicer if you do that crumb layer first. Okay, and this is a little trick that I learned a few years ago. If you're not using fondant, which can be very expensive, and the point of this vlog is to find the least expensive ways to do cake decorating and still have it look professional, I take a paper towel. If you pick one with a design you like, that's even cooler. And just set it on top of the cake and gently rub in circles or in lines until you achieve the desired effect. And your hands, the heat from your hands will actually soften the icing, and it'll smooth out that surface, and it'll look like fondant, but it's actually decorator icing or buttercream. I'm going to go ahead and do this to the sides as well. And then as soon as we're done with that, we're going to move on to the actual piping step. And we already have all our icing set up, so it's not going to be a problem to just pick up and just go for that. Okay, now we have our orange piping. This is a star tip. And to make these shells, there's a little close-up of it later on, but you're going to go really heavy on the front part and then just drag out the bottom. Heavy on the front part and just drag out the bottom. It's kind of doing like a dip up, like you're going over a hill. Just up, then over. And I'm playing let's complete this circle. And I love this kind of design just because it's so simple, and it makes for a really professional look. And you can do big shells, you can do small shells, and just matters on the size of star icing tip you have. I have a very small one, which makes for nice, neat, precise designs. And it kind of seals in the cake to the parchment paper and through each layer. It makes it look more cohesive as well. And we are bringing out our flowers from the fridge. They are hardened, and we're actually going to place those in the cake. Because I put the parchment paper on them, I can easily just peel that off and just place it where I need it to go on the cake. And there we go. We have one more flower to add on. There's no mess. I can just throw away the parchment paper. I don't have to worry about washing the flower nail. Here's our final product. Thank you guys. This is Jackie from Cheapskate Cake Boss. Happy baking!